James Woods, Elon Musk, and Viktor Bout would seem to be three unlikely bedfellows, wouldn't you think? Well, you already know it's a strange world these days, but see what it is these two Americans and the notorious Russian have in common. You might find you agree with each of them to some degree. James Woods gained fame for his acting and has received numerous awards for his work in over 4 decades, from Broadway to the big screen and on television. Woods is no wallflower when it comes to politics. He admits to being a Democrat until the impeachment of Bill Clinton in 1999. He then registered as an independent, but more recently has aligned with the Republican Party, where he's defended President Trump in the media and paid a heavy price for it professionally and personally. Nonetheless, he maintains an active voice, heavily criticizing the lunacy surrounding the current president's agenda and policies. Being of Irish descent, Woods appreciates the value immigrants bring to our nation, but he's highly critical of the way immigration is being mismanaged by the current administration especially. He's also no fan of government overreach, as in how the COVID pandemic was mismanaged and how the LGBTQ agenda is being pushed into the schools. It's hard to miss Elon Musk in the news these days. He's everywhere, doing everything, all at once. These days, his acquisition of Twitter and the public cleansing of its previous abuses are openly paraded before the world and being either roundly hailed or lambasted from either side of the great divide that right now is separating our country, if not the Western world. Like Woods, Musk has major issues with the progressive agenda of the last several years, the policies they've implemented, and what it all portends for our future. Musk nailed 2 birds with 1 stone in a recent tweet that mocked the pronoun police and called out the man who pushed the pandemic vaccinations and the harmful social mandates. Musk tweeted, "My pronouns are prosecute Fauci." That tweet generated sharp feedback, but the tireless Musk was more than ready and able for his defense, where he tweeted back, "The Branch Covidians are upset. LOL," which, for those of you who may or may not remember, is a reference to the Branch Davidian, a cult that David Koresh led, and they were massacred in 1993 in Waco, Texas. Musk slammed the hammer down further in his final response in that exchange when he tweeted, "The woke mind virus is either defeated or nothing else matters." You can easily see how Woods, Musk are aligned in the battle against the heavy-handed, nonsensical agenda of the progressives. Now for the third member of our unlikely trio. Viktor Bout was most likely on nobody's radar until recently, when he was released from the U.S. prison in exchange for a U.S. basketball player, Brittany Griner. Griner was being held in a Russian prison for the past 300 days or so on a minor drug charge, although according to Russian laws it isn't a minor issue. The fact is, the charges really meant nothing. She was just a convenient pawn the Russians could use to spring their man, Bout. Viktor Bout was an infamous arms runner with a long record of international accomplishments up and down the Eastern Hemisphere that earned him the nickname Merchant of Death. He was serving time in a U.S. prison for conspiring to kill Americans as one of the goals of his weapons dealing. So why is Bout the third member of this triumvirate with James Woods and Elon Musk? Bout is considered a bit of a hero in Russia, and shortly after his return to the homeland, he was interviewed on Russian television. Some of what he said was fascinating, insightful, and illuminating. From Bout's perspective, he's worried that the poisonous culture permeating throughout the U.S. and the rest of Western society will sink the entire world if it is not stopped. He said, "What's happening in the West is simply the suicide of civilization. And if this suicide is not prevented, at least within the non-Western world, within the world that is not controlled by the Anglo-Saxons, then the whole planet will commit suicide. And it may be happening in all areas, with drugs, LGBTQ among them." Bout weighed in on issues plaguing the American people during the interview, showing an understanding of the issues that are hurting ordinary Americans and elucidating on them in a way that few politicians are willing to do. He said, "In America right now, there is reverse racism. To be a normal white person who wants a family, who wants children, who wants to love, is very difficult." He added, "Look at what they did to the participants of the so-called arms insurrection on January 6th. Bout spoke at length of the transgender plague that is sweeping throughout American schools as LGBTQ groomers brazenly prey upon the innocent minds of the youth. Imagine it. In American schools, they're now teaching to first graders, 6 or 7 years old, that there are 72 genders," he said. Bout also slammed the move toward lax criminal justice policies that liberal city governments are pursuing, empowering criminals to wage war against normal citizens. He said, "Look at what's happening in San Francisco. Look at what's happening in Chicago. Look at what's happening in New York." The Merchant of Death made a lot of sense with his comments and doesn't even hold a grudge against the system that he believes unjustly apprehended him for so many years. "You have to learn to forgive," Bout said. If you listen to his remarks, you might think that he and Woods and Musk had recently shared a bottle of some smooth whiskey, deeply commiserated on the state of the world we've been describing, and they came to the conclusion that Musk tweeted, "The woke mind virus is either defeated or nothing else matters." To your liberty. If you found this of value, please share it, click the like and subscribe buttons, and join us in our promotion of liberty in the American agenda.